The 407K was introduced in 2020 as Holosun's entry into the micro pistol optic category. It shares a lot of its features with its larger sibling, the 407C, but all of it packed into a much smaller sized optic. The 407K is 1.6 inches long, and it's just under an inch both in width and in overall height. The body is made of 7075 T6 aluminum, and it has a glass window. It's rated IP67 water resistant, and it weighs in at exactly 1 ounce, which is crazy lightweight. MSRP for the 407K is about $260, but street price is a little bit less. You could find it usually around $225, $230. I got mine on Brownells for $220. The 407K comes packed in the standard Holosun box, which, just on a personal note, I think is nicer than anything in the market this side of an RMR. Opening the box, we've got the standard Holosun paperwork. We've got a nice cleaning cloth. Got an adjustment tool for the turrets. 2 sets of screws with some Loctite applied on there. And of course the optic itself and the battery. That included battery is a CR1632, and it powers the 407K from this tray that's mounted on the side of the optic. This is one feature that I really like, and one that I looked for when I was looking for an optic, because it means that I can change the battery without having to dismount the optic from the slide, and subsequently that means I don't have to re-zero it after I change batteries. The optic is rated to deliver up to 50,000 hours of life on setting 6, and it's also got a shake awake feature, which I think is really nice. It saves battery by turning off the optic after a certain amount of time that you set in the settings menu, and all it takes to turn it back on is just like a firm tap on the table. I can turn this thing back on. In everyday use, I've never picked this up and found the reticle to not be turned on, whether it's coming out of a holster or picking it up from the table. It's always on every time I need it, so I really like this feature. The reticle itself is a 6 MOA dot, and it's got 10 levels of brightness adjustment, as well as 2 levels of night vision compatible brightness. I'll see if I can get it on camera here. I'll roll in some pictures if I can't get it on. Oh, there we go. I'll roll in some pictures anyway. I'll admit that I was having a little bit of kind of apprehensive feelings about having a big dot at first, because I have astigmatism, and for me that means that most red dots look like stars or sunbursts to me, and I was expecting the reticle on this to just look like a huge sunburst that took up the entire window. I was really surprised when I first looked through it though, because the reticle for me is very sharp and very well defined around the edges with pretty much no sunburst effect at all. So I'm not sure how Holosun did it, but awesome job with the optics. The reticle brightness is controlled by these 2 buttons on the side. They're flush mounted really nice to reduce the possibility of getting hit by accident when you're carrying the thing around. There's also a lockout feature which disables input from any of the buttons, so bumping it, even if you bump it, it's not going to do anything. The lock mode you access by holding down the plus button for 3 seconds, and then the dot will blink to confirm turning on or off the lock mode. This is the setting that I use. I have it set for a certain brightness, and I just keep it locked to that setting. I basically picked one that's bright enough to be used outside in the daytime, and then locked it. And it's probably a little bit too bright to be using at nighttime or indoors, but constantly tapping up and down on the brightness adjustment, that's just not for me, so I decided to just use that lock mode and set it that way. The 407K has 2 turrets for adjusting the elevation and windage of the optic. We've got elevation up here on the top and windage on the right side of the optic here. As far as the initial zeroing of it, Holosun claims that the 407K comes zeroed at 25 yards from the factory, and I found this to be pretty much true. I put it on the slide and I was hitting about a 1/4 inch low at 20 yards or so. So I just put a little bit of elevation change on that, 1 or 2 clicks, and I was right back on target. Each one of the turrets has 1 MOA click per adjustment, and it's not really a loud click, but you can feel it when you adjust it with the wrench, so it's nice because you can tell when you click through the settings. After about 6 months of living with the 407K, I can say that overall I'm really satisfied with it. The tiny overall size doesn't add any width to my shield, and the big 6 MOA dot makes it really easy to pick up quickly. It gets carried every day and practiced with every day, and it puts up with all of that with no problems at all. The housing doesn't show anywhere on it from having to put up with that every day. It's never flickered on me, never died on me, it's never lost 0. I've got about 500, 600 live fire rounds through it, and countless dry fire rounds at this point. As I mentioned, Shake Awake is awesome. The glass is clear, doesn't have any blue tint to it or anything like that. And just, like a nice bonus, having it basically zeroed at 25 yards from the factory It gets you up and running super fast. So overall, I think for the price that you pay for one of these, 240, 250 bucks, you get a lot of value for your money, a lot of features for your money. And that's something that I think is consistent with the entire Holosun lineup. So that's the PT review of the 407K. Overall, it's a great micro pistol optic at a great price. If you're interested in picking one up, check out the link in the description. That'll take you to the blog, and the blog has links to Brownells and other places that have the 407K on sale right now. That's all I've got for you today, so until next time, stay safe. Today on the channel, the newest micro carry optic from Holosun, the EPS Carry. Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Today we are taking a look at the Holosun EPS Carry, which is a fully enclosed micro pistol optic. The Holosun 407K was introduced in 2020 as Holosun's entry into the micro pistol optic category, and it quickly made a splash, becoming the go-to optic for a lot of people for their concealed carry weapons, including me. Now, fast forward a few years, and Holosun has rolled out the EPS Carry. The EPS Carry is, in essence, a fully enclosed version of that 407K. It shares a lot of features with its older sibling, but it's packed into a fully enclosed body for some added reliability. The EPS Carry measures 1.6 inches long, 0.94 inches tall, and 0.98 inches wide at the base at its widest point. This makes it basically identical to the 407K in overall dimension. Also, just like the 407K, the body is made out of 7075 T6 aluminum, and it has a glass window. It is IPX8 water resistant, and it weighs in at exactly 1 ounce, which is, surprisingly enough, identical to the 407K. MSRP for the EPS Carry is about $390, and you can find it at your favorite online dealer for under that. I got this one for $330 at Brownells. The EPS Carry is powered by a single CR1632 battery, which Holosun throws in the box, and it's actually installed already in that same battery tray on the side of this optic as in the 407K. Now, this means that the battery can be replaced without having to remove the optic from the weapon, which means that subsequently you don't need to re-zero this thing every time you change the battery, like in some other optics. The EPS Carry can deliver up to 50,000 hours of life on setting 6, and aiding this battery life is the shake awake feature that you all know that I love. This means that the optic turns off automatically after a certain amount of time to save its battery. So if you just, kind of put this down on the table or throw it in the safe or anything like that, after a few minutes, it's going to shut off. But as soon as it senses any movement, like you picking it up or pulling it out of a holster or anything like that, it's going to turn the optic back on right away. Now, during testing, I've never picked this thing up or pulled it out of the safe or anything like that and had the reticle not be turned on. So I'm very confident in Holosun's shake awake feature. Now, in addition to that battery tray, on the body of the EPS Carry are the adjustment turrets and the brightness controls. The turrets are located on the top and the right side of the optic. The top turret handles the elevation adjustment, and this right side turret handles the windage adjustment. These adjust in 1.5 MOA per click increments with a total adjustment of plus or minus 30 MOA available. They also make a nice tactile and audible click when you adjust them, just like the 407K. Now, the brightness control buttons are on the left side of the body here, and as you can see, they're a little bit bigger as what we got on the 407K, and I believe that's likely due to the more real estate we have on the body of the EPS Carry. They're still flush mounted, so they're easy to use, but they're hard to accidentally bump adjust when you're manipulating. There's also the same lockout feature, which disables input from the buttons to eliminate any kind of misinput altogether. To do this, you can hold down the plus button for 3 seconds, and the dot will blink to confirm activation or deactivation of that lock mode. This is the setting that I use. I pick a brightness and I lock it in at that brightness. It's a brightness that's bright enough to be used outside in the daytime, and it's probably a little bit too bright for nighttime and indoors, but not having to constantly remember to tap my brightness up or down whenever I go in or out or when it turns nighttime is worth it to me. Now, this is the EPS Carry RD6, as you can see here, which means that its reticle is a 6 MOA dot, and it's got 10 levels of brightness adjustment as well as 2 levels of night vision compatible brightness. Just like the 407K, that dot is really nice and crisp, and it works even for people with astigmatism like me. There's a really tiny bit of bloom around the edges, but nowhere near what I get with other optics. The window itself is a tiny bit wider than what you get on the 407K, and I'm talking about tenths of a millimeter here, so it's not something that would be noticeable if they weren't side by side. The clarity on the glass is great, again, just like the 407K. Of course, the real story here is that the emitter is now fully enclosed, which means that it's fully protected from the environment and nothing can get in there. This means that something getting in there to block the emitter and rendering the optic useless is now impossible. If anything gets on there, you can just wipe it off the back or wipe it off the front. dust and water are sealed out as well. Now, this is exciting to me because I tend to get dust and sweat and crap building up in here when I carry, and cleaning that out sometimes means you need like a Q-tip or something like that. Now, with this, I can just wipe this guy off with my t-shirt or something like that and I'm good to go. Now, just like the 407K, the EPS Carry is cut for a Holosun K footprint, and Holosun throws in an RMSC to K adapter plate in the box as well. You can see it down there. Now, this is great because most micro carry handguns use an RMSC footprint, so there's no need to buy a plate. It is worth it to note though that on my application, this Hellcat, the plate needed to be modified ever so slightly to fit. Specifically, I had to open up the rear mounting holes a little bit to get the plate to sit flat on the slide, which is not a big deal for me. It just took a couple seconds with a pin file. Now, as far as initial zeroing of the optic, Holosun claims that the EPS Carry comes 0 to 25 yards from the factory, and I found this to be pretty much true, just like I have with other Holosun products in the past. I dropped it on here and I found I was hitting a little bit low, so I gave it a couple clicks and I was right on target. So taking into account how happy I am with the 407K, it's no surprise that overall I really like the EPS Carry. The added peace of mind of that fully enclosed emitter is great for me personally, and it comes with no penalties in size or weight or battery life, because again, they're all the same as the 407K. My only real quibble with this is the price. The $100 price increase over the 407K gives me a little bit of pause, even at the price that I paid. Now, if you need something right now, I would say just buy the 407K and save yourself the $100. Put it towards practice, put it towards ammo, put it towards something. Otherwise, if you absolutely have to have the EPS Carry, wait until it goes on sale. That $100, I mean, that can be a thing. So that's my review of the Holosun EPS Carry. Overall, I think it's great. I'm gonna go put some more rounds through this now and possibly do a long-term review. So let me know in the comments if that's something that you're interested in. Make sure that you're subscribed and you've got that bell rung because it really helps me out with the algorithm. Throw me a like or a comment if you appreciate what I'm doing here. And if you really appreciate what I'm doing, consider throwing me that super thanks. That's all I've got for you this time. So until next time, stay safe.